If you've been struggling with your plants not growing great or just getting pests and diseases and you're not testing your pH, then that could definitely be the reason. But if you've never tested your pH before, it can be pretty overwhelming. At least for me, when I'm starting something new, I always get a little bit overwhelmed and I would rather kind of ignore it rather than deal with it, which is not a good strategy. If that is you and you have been avoiding testing your pH or just thinking you don't need to or just completely overwhelmed with it, I just want to make a quick video to show you 3 different ways that you can do it and that it is not scary and it's probably something you should add to your routine. We have the strips. This is going to be the easiest and cheapest, but I would say the least accurate. And then we have this one. If you're not looking to spend a lot of money, this is a great option. There's another one I'll put up on the screen that you can use. This is just a liquid test kit. This is more accurate, I find, than the strips. And if you have the budget and you want to get the big boy of pH testing, then you can pick up one of these. And this beauty here is my Blue Lab pH pen. Now this is significantly more expensive than the other 2 options. It requires calibration and upkeep and you have to be careful with it and yada yada yada, but this is going to give you the most accurate results. Okay, so back over to the sprouts. We'll start with the pH strips. So what these have on them is 4 different colors, and you're going to dip it into the solution and then you're going to go and match it up on the back here. Now when you are doing this, you are going to want to aim for a pH of between 5.5 and 6.5. That is like your mostly make everybody happy range. If you are growing specific things in a dedicated unit, like you have a unit for peppers or you have a unit for tomatoes or a unit for herbs or lettuce, that can make it easier to dial in the pH, and I will put a link down below to my chart for a lot of the things that people would grow hydroponically, the target pH and EC, but EC would do in a different video. But if you don't want to get that specific and if you're just starting and you haven't been testing your pH, then I wouldn't even worry about that so much. Let's just try and get it in the main target range of 5.5 to 6.5. And this is where it gets a little bit harder with the sticks. Because if we look at these, you have the 5 and the 6, like there's not a huge difference in color there. From a 0 to a 5, yeah, that's going to tell you if you're completely out of whack. And for me, just trying to match up the colors because I am maybe a wee bit of an overthinker, yeah, it kind of just stresses me out and I just feel like I can't get the right color. But anyways, let me just show you. They are easy. So we're going to open this up. Just going to hold them under here for not too long. Swish it about. Okay. We're going to give it a second. I feel like we're trending closer to a 6 than we are to a 5. So we'll leave that there. Relatively easy to use, just hard to get the actual accuracy. Now we're going to open this guy up. So you're going to have your little bottle of stuff, and this is really important because this is what you're going to use to match up for the different pHs, and then you get this little vial. And if you guys have been around here for any length of time, then you know I love my different little syringes that I use for getting out nutrients or water testing or anything. So I'm going to take this, pop it in here, just because it's hard to get into the sprout. And then we'll take this and we'll fill it up about halfway. Pop that back in there. And then we're going to take this, give it a good shake, and then I usually do 3 or 4 drops in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then get your little lid. Okay, try not to spill it, Kiri. Okay, give it a good shake. For me, this is looking closer to a 5. She's getting more into the danger zone. You don't want to get near the red. You want to be up closer to the greens, but then not too green, because then that's bad too. Just funny, because on the test strips, it felt more like we were going towards a 6. It just looks like a pea sample. I'm a little kid. Okay. Now we are going to take out the pen. That little ball in there is blown glass. You do not want to put that near anything that is glass, because it could break. In order to test this, I need to take these guys out because it doesn't fit in here. So we got some beautiful little roots. Just going to carefully hold this over here. I'm going to take my pen, hold the power button to turn it on, swish it around. So that is saying, looks like we're at a 6.4. Yeah, that seems to be done. So I'll turn that off. Okay, I'm gonna go clean that. Carefully put these guys back in. And now that we know that we're getting a little high on this, we want to get it a little bit lower. The easiest way to do that is to use some pH down. I cannot stress this enough. You want to put this stuff in so slowly that like snails are passing you, because this stuff is super powerful. And if you put in too much, you're going to get into this yo-yoing between using pH up, using pH down, using pH up. So just do a little bit. Put in like literally, I'll show you, I'm going to do like a drop or two. We're going to swirl it all around. The pumps are running right now. And then we will test again. And then if it's still too high, we'll put in like 1 drop more. Slower is so much better with this stuff. Trust me, because I have done the yo-yoing many times. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. And then it's not fine. And then I'm stuck doing that. And you might be wondering, why do we even care so much about the pH? Does it really matter? And I have heard from many, many people when I talk about pH and they're like, oh, well, and they say like, oh, those AeroGarden nutrients are like pH buffered. And then they come at me in the comments. I've checked the label, it doesn't say pH buffered on there. But even if it did, it's not going to stay that way. You're adding in water, you're adding in nutrients, the temperature's changing. All of this stuff is going to affect the pH. You can have the pH drift, which just means it starts to change over time. And then what starts happening is your plants are not able to properly absorb the nutrients that you're putting in there, because at certain points, if the pH gets into certain ranges, it can lock out the nutrients, and then they're just not accessible to the plant. So if they're there, it's still not helping, which is why you want to check your pH. If you are not, and again, like I said, I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed. So if you are not currently testing your pH, maybe set a target to check it once a week. It is better, and some people say to do it daily. I will be the first to admit I do not, because it just gets overwhelming for me. But at least if you're testing every week or every few days, you're going to get an idea if it's out of range, and then you can do something to bring it back in. But like, this stuff can change daily. You just need to know that. Okay, so this is the pH down. It's the orange one. We'll give it a shake, and then what we'll do is we'll get it in. Okay, so if you've been around here for any length of time, you know that I love my little syringes. I'll put a link to them down in the description. So I labeled it with my garden marker just so I know which one is which. Okay, so there we have it, and we're just going to put in a little bit. That might have been a bit much. And now we need to give it a second to swizzle around, get it all mixed in, and yep, see? You got to be careful. That is way too low now. Now, this is a perfect opportunity to retest with the root farm and also with the strips, now that we know that it's down in the 4s, and we will see the difference in the colors. Okay, so now we'll use one of the strips to test it out. It's not a huge difference. I mean, there's a bit of a difference, but it's hard to tell. So we'll take a little bit of that. We'll take this guy, and you'll see it change really quickly, and it'll be very different. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see that is already more red. Just put the lid on, shake it up, and there we go. We're red, which shows we are down into little ranges where we don't want to be. So how do we fix it? We use some of this pH up. Hopefully, I can be a little more precise. I'm going to actually put way less in here. So lesson for myself, there's barely any in there. Put that in, just a dab. I'm gonna get a little bit more ready in case that's not enough. And anytime I put it down after I've rinsed it under tap water, I'm putting the cap back on. We will turn it on, and we will swizzle it all around in here. Okay, we are almost in the sweet spot. See, when you swirl it around, you really need it to get mixed in. So I'm going to very carefully attempt to put in just the tiniest drop more. It's honestly amazing how little it takes. Okay, I'm going to be happy with 5.7. We go rinse this under some tap water. Get my little guys back in. Definitely not ideal for testing in the sprout though, I must say. Hopefully that shows you that it's pretty easy to test. Apparently the hardest part is adjusting it and not putting in too much of the up or the down. But guys, please, if you do nothing else, just start testing it. Become aware of what your pH is, even if you didn't try to adjust it, but it's not hard. If anything, get the liquid. It's easier, it's more cost effective, and you can see the color changing. I find it definitely easier than the strips. And if you want to watch another video, then this is what YouTube thinks you will like best.